it might have been a super spreader event. The vice admiral of the Coast Guard, who was there, has now tested positive, and most of the Joint Chiefs of Staff are quarantined. Joining us now is Army veteran and senior advisor for Veterans Affairs at the Lincoln Project, Fred Wellman. Fred, great to have you here. This is worrisome. Given what we now know, to see those pictures, makes you take a step back. Why did the White House hold this event like this?
Well, that's the eternal question, isn't it? It's shocking in a lot of ways. I mean, I think we've got a double shock right now. We have the Joint Chiefs quarantining. We've got COVID running rampant in essentially the national security, a very central nervous system of our national security system. And then we find out that Gold Star families were invited to the White House. All they did that we know of is they had rapid tests at the door, which we do know may not be even effective the first 3 to 7 days of the virus when you catch it. So, and then they went in maskless. I think it's just an example of how the White House continues to ignore their own organizational guidelines and their own CDC guidelines and don't protect anyone that comes to that building.
I mean, if you were to stage a super spreader event now, it would look like that. You're not supposed to be meeting with that many people indoors. You're not supposed to be sitting right next to each other. You're supposed to be masked. And the idea that this was last week and they were flouting, I mean, it was the day after the Amy Coney Barrett event that now doctors believe was a super spreader event. Do we know how these Gold Star families feel now in light of all that's happened?
Well, it's been really difficult. A lot of the organizations that brought their Gold Star families in there have not been real forthcoming. Many of the families have not spoken publicly. The information I gained was through essentially friends who are in that network. I've been working as a veterans advocate for the last decade, so we have connections to a lot of these families. What we do know is that they were not contact traced. As of yesterday, most of them had never heard from anyone. There was a report yesterday that one of the organizations that helped bring the families in was contacted on October 2nd. That, of course, is Friday, the day after President Trump said on publicly that he had contracted the virus. And if you remember correctly, what got me going on this whole topic and what got me going down the rabbit hole of how all this happened was, if you remember when President Trump spoke at the first time, I believe Sean Hannity, he said that it was, they said they were talking about Hope Hicks, but we now know that the president by that point knew he had tested positive. They said it's very hard because the law enforcement and the military, when you're doing a good job for them, they come up and hug you and kiss you. And a lot of us veterans are like, I don't think I've ever seen a soldier ever run up to the president, hug and kiss him. And what we now know is he was talking about the Gold Star family event, that the president and all of the pantheon of people that he may have caught COVID from in that week, he picked the Gold Star families as the most likely suspect. And that's kind of disturbing, too, if you think about it.
I have the quote right here. He says, it's very, very hard when you're with people from the military and they come over to you and they want to hug you and kiss you because we have really done a good job for them. And you get close and things happen. And things happen. And so instead of blaming his own masklessness or his rallies, you hear him blaming Gold Star families there.
That's what I heard. And that's what a lot of us heard from the first time. And now we figured it out. It was funny. It's one of those blinding flashes of the obvious moments when we figured it out that what the president was talking about was the Gold Star family. And the nugget came when the announcement came out in the news that the Joint Chiefs were going to quarantine. And buried in one of the articles in the New York Times was a paragraph that simply said, the Joint Chiefs have been getting regularly tested since attending a Gold Star family event at the White House. So what that also tells you is that DOD knew that there had been an exposure or a possible exposure from the very beginning and before the president announced that he was positive on Thursday. So the questions that ask are staggering.
I mean, and the Joint Chiefs are quarantining. Obviously, national security issues abound. And also just the fact that as you point out, we have not seen these pictures. These pictures have not made the rounds in the way that the Amy Coney Barrett pictures have, most of which were outside, though there was an indoor element to that. But these pictures look like pre-COVID times. These pictures, these photographs look as if it was taken a year ago, not a week ago. Yes. And this, I mean, I feel for these Gold Star families, and I'm glad that you're trying to be in touch with them to see if any of them are getting sick. We hope not, obviously, and that they will be contact traced somehow so they can breathe a sigh of relief. Fred Wellman, thank you for bringing all of this to our attention.